back, everyone, to another thrill-packed Friday here in the fall. Oof, the leaves are turning, the temperatures are dropping. It's chaos. I'm here with Art. I'm here with Kevin and Dion, and today is a special day, right? Because we're gonna talk about crickets.
Yep.
Yeah. But first, Art, do we have anything interesting that's occurring in the copier world?
No, I'd rather delegate that to
Nothing worth.
next week.
Excellent. All right. All right. So be it. Excellent. Well, you know what? I'm gonna throw you on the in the spotlight, Art. Tell me a little bit about crickets, Art.
Huh. Well, Crickets is our coalition to bring robots, actually to bring the dealer channel to robots and robots to the dealer channel. So we believe that the next move for office equipment dealers is going to be starting in the robotic space. It's not something that we're going to see, how can I say, uh, is immediate, but I think the dealers out there need to plan on what their legacy is going to be, right? We
Yeah.
know that printed pages are going down, right? We also know that for some companies, managed IT isn't the everything they wanted it to be. Water is a good source of income and a good source of profits, but at some point in time, the dealer's going to need a tail similar to the copier industry. So we're thinking, we talk about this on multiple meetings that we've had, that we don't believe the tail for copiers is ever going to be reincarnated with any equipment ever again. However, robots and upcoming humanoids are going to give the dealers some type of tail for service, support, firmware, software, training, cybersecurity. And what we're all about is saying we're here to help everybody get started on their path to have their own robotics program in place, or to start looking at robotic OEMs that we're connected with to start their sales, service, and leasing, just to learn more about robotics and how they can help their own clients with, what's that word I'm looking for? Automation, right? We spoke about automation. Automation is big in China. However, in the United States, there's not a lot of automation. So there's my 3 minutes.
Excellent. 3 minutes. Um. Well, yeah. So my 2 cents, and oh boy, there's so much here. So yeah, our primary mission is to bring robots to the channel and to bring the channel to robots. Now, our organizational structure, it's Art, myself, and Kevin.
Yep.
Okay. Um, Dion is on board as a dealer who is helping us through it, and we're using them as like a test bed, I guess you could say. And then Twain, through Kevin's relationship, is one of our active partners right now in terms of brain share and industry guidance. And because this whole robotics slash AI thing is so new and it's changing, I mean, every week there's something new in it on the artificial intelligence side. Um, our partnership and our allegiance with Twain is such that we're looking at being able to have all these pieces communicate together, right? Whether it's an LLM to LLM, an agent to agent, a robotic entity to another robotic entity, from copiers to robots to LLMs. So they bring in that expertise on that side. So that gives you the big broad sense. But when we get down to tactics, we really believe that offering robotics as a secondary, third, or tertiary line through the dealer channel is probably right now cutting, if not bleeding edge, but will be a mainstay here for business to business, the business to business channel very soon. So, just the way things are moving in the next 6 to 12 months, it could be, everyone's selling robots. So to dive in, y'all, we've got a show coming up in November, and at that show, we're showing off proof of concepts around robotics. And what's interesting about this is we started it not that long ago, and it has that proof of concept has evolved into just having robots walk within a sandbox area and make deliveries of toner or supplies or whatever, symbolic deliveries, to now embedding an LLM on one of the robots that's going to act as an HR on ramp assistant. And that's just in the last few months we put that together. And again, it's all geared at the Copier channel. So the HR, we've used, a dealer's HR manual to help train that particular HR LLM.
Right.
And then even with, Art, what do we've got the Caton service manuals that we've
Correct.
trained the LLM on, so
Right.
that at the show we'll be able to show some service issues of some sort. But and the idea was just a POC. Now this is a crickets thing because it is just the thumbnail of what we think is possible, and quite honestly probable in the next 12 months, right? So,
Correct.
um, yeah, and then so you might ask, well, why would I want to do this? And Art, you touched in it. We've looked at 3D printing, we've looked at water, and as a matter of fact, Copier stuff, the Canada report survey just came out, right? I mean,
Yes, I read it.
yeah, there's 400 and so respondents, and if you just look at the percentage of revenue, 67% or 65% is still being driven by A3 and A4, right? So even if you look at MPS, managed IT, any of these alternative services, MPS is still at 13% of revenue. Now, again, this is out of this survey of 400 or so dealers.
Right. Which is a good
It's a
survey.
good number, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that just goes to tell you. Now, they've also got production print is 5.9%. It seems to be hot here in the last 24 months. MBS made a resurgence. But then you've got document ECM, the classic stuff that we've been talking about since 1999, 1.9% of these dealers. Now, I'll give you another caveat. And then VoIP, UCAS, the telephones, less than 2% of revenue is driven from that.
Right.
Now, these are not our mega dealers. These are revenue is somewhere around 16.6 million.
Yeah, I saw that average of 15
Yeah.
million.
So, but that accounts for, I don't know, 97 or 95% of the whole market is in that range.
Right.
Our dealers. So it's a pretty large, I don't have that stat in front of me. But what I'm getting at is, even though we've been trying to diversify, in essence, we really haven't, right? I mean, 65% of the business is still from A3 and A4 printers. And no one can argue that those print volumes aren't falling, because they are falling. All right, they've been falling. So the whole thing with crickets is, all right, well, what can we look at next that is similar to the Copier model, like you mentioned earlier, the tail. But
Right.
what we look at is, right, we've got the service desk. We know how to talk to customers or prospects. We know how to prospect, do a needs assessment, do a
Yep.
site survey, put together a lease, put together a service agreement, take delivery of an item,
How to put text
unbox it,
on site.
put it back together. Yeah. Ship it on site, do
Yep.
user orientation, right?
Connect to the network. Yep.
Connect it, do all that stuff, get it ready. And then while it's under a lease, 36, 60-month lease, we know how to support it, right? With a help desk. And we know the difference between a help desk and a service dispatch. All that infrastructure is there. All we need to do is plug in something that fits that nicely. Now, that argument is very compelling to robotic OEMs, because they're at the stage in their life. If you think about copiers before there were dealers, right back in, I don't know, when was that? Art, you were around?
Might be too long for me. Probably in the probably in the 70s. I think Ed could talk more about that, or
Oh, hi,
Dion.
Ed. Hey, Ed.
Hello there. I was just listening. No, I mean, there's a lot here. First of all, on some of the things you just said, um, the cross section of Canada's survey is very representative of the mid-sized dealers. It does not represent mega dealers or dealers in the 30 to $50 million range. They're just not well represented there. They don't take the time to do the survey. So you're not getting a really complete picture of the diversification that's in the industry. I think there's more diversification than what the survey represents. I don't think it's broad. I don't think it's no one has shifted the majority out of copiers at this point in time. These are still copier salespeople.
Yeah.
And I'm also going to suggest that, I think there's opportunity here. I think you're on the right track. But the biggest thing that's going to get in the way, and it's always the thing that gets in the way, is how do you structure the sales process? How do you reward the sales force? Can they call on the same kind of people? Are these the same decision type makers? Is a sale going to be done the same way? Because this industry changed in 1982. It made a complete flip. It became completely transactional. It's not centric to the account anymore as an industry. And the way that people go about doing things is very critical. You've got to get the cultural alignment to make sure that it works.
Well, yeah. I mean, and that's so Ed, would you say that if that made the flip in the 80s, would you consider the dealers that are around successfully making that shift? Or
Oh yeah, everybody made that shift. It was made because of the accounting laws that came into place at the time.
Mhm.
Under the Reagan administration, they had the 1981 Recovery Act, and they took certain assets off the balance sheet.
Right.
Prior to that, everybody had to understand what was going on inside the account, and you had to have a little bit of accounting savvy to understand that there were book values that you had to deal with when you were upgrading equipment. All that changed in 1982. And the day it changed, when it came off the balance sheet, people started selling monthly payments
Mm.
from that day forward. And it completely changed. Now, you can sell monthly payments with robots. There's no question about it. I mean, that can happen. But you don't really get in. People stopped doing account development, and it gradually changed. And it has gotten to the point where I think there's a number of dealers now trying to make the transition back to account management and being more account intimate. But for the most part, the industry is completely alien to account management. And, I don't know how robots would work. Robots might be more transactional, may fit the model better than some of the other services, but that's still been the problem in transitioning to services in our industry, which is one of the reasons that MPS never really got the foothold that it should have gotten, and IT services is all about account management, and that's big money in there, but not the way we're doing it in our industry.
Right. Right. Well, I'm glad you mentioned that because yeah, we took that in consideration and used MPS as a primary example of what went wrong. And I don't mean what went wrong. I mean it just didn't catch, right? Because of everything you
But
just
people
said.
misunderstood it.
Absolutely.
I mean, back in those days, you and I had the conversation. You were very heavily involved in the MPSA at the time, and you guys spent 5 years defining what the hell it was.
Right. Right. It took us at least, well, it took me two. Actually, it took me 12 months, but that doesn't matter. Well, what we've done at is we look at it the same way, right? And what the concept was a high concept, take management services and even IT. The bits and the parts and the mechanics are certainly different. There's a more of it can be more of a deeper relationship on each,
Mhm.
and transactions were easier, right? And just look at how we do churn. Churn's not really selling. It's not a relationship. It's being there at the right time when the lease is up and selling it for less. There's nothing there. So what we take robots is a concept that is beyond most people's comprehension right now. There's still
Yeah.
science fiction. So we're taking that.
I don't know. I don't know how many people in our industry are really into concept sales.
They're not. This
And
is why. Yeah.
that could be a problem. I mean, when we first introduced OSA at Sharp, I really thought maybe this is going to be a springboard for people to begin to get more into process change and think about it. It didn't happen. It never
No, even the
happened.
numbers that, and the doc management and BPO and all that stuff, really, maybe the larger companies bit down on it, but and it's our own fault because we didn't compensate the sales reps. This is all water under the bridge.
Well, they weren't compensated to behave that way. It's a
No,
behavior issue. It's
and
not a
it
talent issue.
worked.
It's a behavior issue.
Right, right, and it worked. There were plenty of businesses that stuck around, made a ton of money doing it that way, so it was difficult to
Mhm.
change.
Yeah, I'm not saying
Well,
nobody did it, but for the most part,
well, that's why we looked at these robotics in this way, Ed, as we look at it, all right, we're going to make it very, very, it is a high concept, but we're going to bring that concept down, right? It isn't going to be, like Robbie the Robot or C3PO or nothing. These AMRs that we're first starting with are almost transactional. As a matter of fact, the OEMs that we work with, we're working with 5 right now, they all want to have a relationship with someone who can add value to their devices.
what's the value to the end user?
Right now, right, take my statement off the side. The value right now, if we take a case study, which we have proven, and well, let's just boil it down to moving tires at a dealership. Pretty basic stuff, right?
Mhm.
We have robots that can take whatever 200 pounds payload, can move the tires out of this warehouse and out and deliver it to each bay, depending on what bay needs those. And it could be a battery, it could be spark plugs, whatever supplies the bay needs to service. It can do that all on its own. Take the, it'll wait till you put the old battery on it and then go to the next bay and deliver and deliver and deliver. So that's the use case that actually is implemented right now. And with the investment based on the labor savings and things like that, they hit ROI in 30 days. So it's pretty convincing there. On the, let's say on the light and the office side, pharmaceuticals and finance houses. Finance houses, believe it or not, still move a lot of paper. And the
Oh yeah, I
traders
know. Yeah.
have a lot of paper and files that have to be moved literally from one desk to the other, could be down the hall, could be whatever. So these AMRs can already know where to go. You just tell it where to go with whatever stack of papers you put on it, and off it goes. Right. So you don't have to, and runners and the traders don't have to leave their station to go get paperwork or move paperwork or whatever. So those are
Mhm.
just 2 right there. So we're looking at we're trying to make it as basic as possible. Yes. And when we talk to dealers, you can imagine, right, Ed? It's like, wait, what? They're thinking they're seeing the karate and the kung fu robots out on TV. They're seeing it all those scary robot stories and
Dancing.
things. Yeah. And we're just, no, it's just a tray that moves around on its own. That's all it is. Pretty straightforward, pretty simple. Yeah, you can lease it. We've talked to leasing companies. We're all set to do that. Yeah, there is a tail. Like Art said earlier, though, there's not going to be a tail like it was back in the 70s and the 80s. That
Mhm.
particular model doesn't exist anymore. It's copiers only. I mean, even there's no parallel copier model out there. So we have a tail. It's not going to be as deep as the copier industry, but so be it. Someday there's aren't going to be too many copiers around. So our whole goal is to baby step this in. That's why we talked about the POC, right? It's just a point, proof of concept, a concept. That's what we want you to
Mhm.
have. The sales model, when Art and I look at it, I mean, he was selling copiers 2 hours ago. How can we convert a salesperson like Art, who's used to selling copiers, into at least talking about and selling AMRs,
Yes.
autonomous mobile robots? That's the big thing. And we've come up with some ideas that some plans and even some curriculum that can help that along. That's where Crickets comes in. Where we're trying to translate the sales process from a robot to a copier and a copier to a robot. And we're not dumbing it down. We're boiling it down to very, very tactical, less strategic, more something like if I had to talk to Art or any of these other guys that we're talking that are selling copiers and fax machines, well, here's something. We're not just going to put it on your card, your line card. This is why you should
Mhm.
embrace
Yeah.
this.
Hey,
And Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you, but I was on a call today with a properties management company. I had to upgrade their one of their leases that were due. And while we were talking, I got him off on a different track, and I go, I understand you're in a properties management company, and are you currently using any robots for your property management now?
Mhm.
He says, no, we haven't even given it any thought. And I went into the his business a little bit more and said, are you aware that you can get AMRs now that can actually vacuum your managed spaces? You can get cleaning machines that will actually scrub the floors. And he wasn't aware of any of that.
Mhm.
So then I went in and I moved into there's a product we've been looking at from a company called Dusty. And since they're a properties management company, they build out a lot of spaces. So they have an architect on staff. And then we told them about Dusty, which he didn't even know existed, which is actually a AMR robot that will put the architectural drawings on the floor. It will use a type of ink and mark out the floors for where the building has to go. He immediately connected with that and said, this could be a tremendous amount of time from our workers actually having to snap lines and draws and move to the architect drawing to figure out where everything is going to go. So immediately there was a connection for him there with his own company with with the Dusty model, which I thought was unique. So similar to copier sales, to robot sales, all you've got to do is do a little bit of discovery and start asking questions. And I think the copier reps in our industry are excellent at that. We've been doing discovery for a long time. And I think our curiosity and looking for additional opportunities in accounts, at least for guys like me and gals, and there's just a lot of opportunity out there. And this was just with one account, as Greg states, with the auto bays and their AMRs. It's the time, the savings, the 10 minutes of savings that the tech doesn't have to run to the parts department to go get a part or carry a battery or to go get tires and then go back to his bay. That's time lost by the company, right? Think of it's the ROI. We can approach that and the time savings with the robot. And I spoke earlier about help me out, Greg. What was the word I was looking for? Automate. We can automate processes, which really hasn't caught on here in the United States. So, Greg, back to you.
Yeah. So well, that was good. So I guess that's where we're at. I mean, that hospitals, I did a lot of work in hospitals. Those trays that could move anything from in the labs, the clean rooms, all those files are moving around. That's actually a use case that someone's got. But as far as the copier world, right? One of the things is, as a salesperson, you've got something else that you can. If there's a hospital that you're trying to get into, and you're trying to sell copy. I mean, this is kind of black and white. It's kind of makes sense, right? You call them every 6 months and get in there for copiers. Well, now call them and say, listen, we just picked up this such and such and such and such. Are you interested in hearing that conversation? Yeah. Same with the car dealerships, right? So we've done studies for these OEMs that would cross-reference AMR TAM with copier TAM by geography, right? So we can find out what copier dealers are dealing with which auto networks in, say, Cincinnati, and then take a look at how many they service, how many they don't service. There's their opportunity is the difference between the two. How would you like to have this as a presentation that you could talk, you don't talk to the service manager. This is ownership. You just drop this in the ownership's lap. Listen, I have something here. Here's the case study that we did in, where was it? Tennessee or something with the BMW dealership.
Yep.
They saved a ton of money, blah, 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 blah. That's a talk track that 2 months ago, no copier rep could say.
Mhm.
Hey,
And,
let's give it over to Kevin and let Kevin tell everyone more about the what's behind the technology that we're
Yeah.
using.
Yeah, so I'll go with the ROI answer, Ed. In my opinion, is that you're right. You know, you have these traditional copy machine dealers, and they tried, IT services and MPS and all that kind of stuff. So the robotic stuff is going to encompass all this because to me, at the end of the day, the copy machine or the robots, they're sensors. You know, they produce information if you're scanning documents or the robot's taking pictures or taking videos or output, right? They're input output sensors at the end of the day. So a savvy dealer, the ROI to me would be to leverage the existing sales force, but have you have the ability to vibe code to these things, meaning that these are all AI agents. Even the robots and the copy machines in the futures will have AI on them. And if you can interface with them in a simple, unified way, then you can vibe code this. And somebody that doesn't know Java and Python and PHP, that doesn't know these language specific
Mhm.
stuff, you can use natural language to create your code in your application. So a dealership can easily start creating custom applications for their customers. So just go evaluate the customer like you normally do and say, hey, this is their workflow, this is their use case, this is their copy machine and their water and everything can be unified and you can create an integration to all those things and have a dashboard of all your stuff. So that's the dealership of the future that's going to be able to go into a customer and tailor the solution exactly for them, not be beholden to the copy machine company that creates a software package that's useful only for their machines, right? And not useful for or the robotics company that comes in and you have a software package that only works for that robot. These robotics companies are very open, not like the copy machines that are closed ecosystems. So you're going to be able to customize these robots to do anything. So in the morning, it could deliver coffee to everybody. Hey, roll around and give everybody coffee and encourage the people to go to your desk, start working, be productive instead of going to the coffee room and messing around for an hour and chit-chatting about Monday night football, right? So you could get workers to be more productive. Then in the afternoon, it's an HR onboarding robot. It changes personas immediately in the afternoon. Then in the evening, when everybody goes home, it's a security guard robot. So it could change these personas. It could be 3 people in one day. And a
Mm.
dealer that has that talk track and can create a software application to support that, and with a simplified interface, because you don't need these fancy interface, because you could talk to them, they could talk back to you, and they learn. They can become intelligent robots, and they can learn people, they can learn process, uh, they can learn maintaining machines, they can learn
Tasks.
tasks, they can learn that Art likes this kind of coffee and he likes a double espresso, right? So they become infinitely smarter, and then the customer gets more value over time. So that's a long-winded way of saying the dealers can leverage a lot of what they've done, but they will need a skill set to have this talk track. But then also, again, the software applications, I think, is going to be the killer app,
Mhm.
and don't look at the copy machine. It doesn't start and revolve around the copy machine. If the copy machine can be dropped in and it's a part of the business process and it's integrated with it, but it's not, everything doesn't revolve around this machine, right? If you think that way and there's other things, then you really can deliver value.
Okay, so it's basically what you described. It's a tool to improve the people to process ratio in a company.
Absolutely. That's exactly what it is. It's not hard to see in Greg's example of the tire dealership, right? The carts
Mhm.
moving the tires, but then there's a process to integrate the invoicing system once the or it's with yeah, to invoice the customer once the work's done. Then you got to integrate with the inventory system to take it out of inventory because it picked
Mhm.
one up from the cart. Then you got to get an RMA to send the tires back or dispose of them, and you got to get a receipt to go to the dump and get that all ready. So there's a lot of business process that's low hanging fruit. They could just check, 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 check.
It's
And
interesting to know the things that it does, but I think it's more important to know that the value it brings. So what are the tasks that it's going to eliminate? How are you going to improve processes in a company? That's the real payoff. That's really what it's about. And we focus on the problems it solves as opposed to the things that it does. I think you've got a good chance of making conversion.
100% correct. And in the robotics companies that we've talked to, most of them are just like toolkits. They're, like they said, like Art and Greg said, a lot of them fall over. They can't run a straight line, so they're far from perfect today. But there's a lot of low hanging fruit. But they say they could do this and do this, and they really don't know the solution, right? The solution, what can be done with them instead of, it can move, it has this dexterity, or the arms can move this high or this low, or this camera is this resolution, right? Those are technical specs, right? But what problems can it solve? Yeah.
And I mean, I'm smiling half the time because I'm remembering a road trip I was on recently, and I stopped to get gas. I was somewhere down south. I don't know where. It was south of here. And I get into this big gas station place, and they got a robot cleaning the floor.
Mhm.
And the goddamn thing's in the way. It's getting in the way. You can't get near this product. And it's saying, I'm doing the work to clean the place. I said, get the hell out of my way, you fucking asshole. But I thought it was more annoying than anything. But I saw the value of it. I just said, the guy doesn't know when to run the damn thing. I should be running it when it is low traffic. But I said, if it hits the gas station, it's going to be everywhere at some point in time. This type of technology will be everywhere because it's already annoying people in the gas station.
Yeah, and that's a good example. It's like it's a good concept, but they didn't program it to stay out of the way or the right time to
Well, they
use.
just didn't set it up properly.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. But but even the I got the idea, even though it was in my way. And I said, go bother somebody else.
So
But that brings up another thing. I'll just say that just to end this real quick, Art. That's another thing is that when you don't that imagine that thing goes out of control and runs into a gas pump and causes the gas station to explode, right? Programming these things, or somebody hijacks it. Like the other day, they hijacked the overhead system in the airports, right? That
Mhm.
these networks are also very fragile. So a dealer needs security understanding too. So these IT services that we were talking about, they're going to need to understand the implications of deploying robots and programming robots and the potential liabilities of operating robots, because a copy machine's not going to move around, right, on its own.
Mhm.
Robots do move. And what I've seen just reading some of the technical stuff on some of these robots, they say be very careful, because if you start to move the robot and you don't program it to stop or move around, you can run over people and it could be dangerous.
Mhm.
So those are the kind of things you don't expect if you haven't kind of researched it. So there's a lot to it, but there's a
Yeah, there
lot.
is opportunity for some
There,
value. Hey, Chip, you're on mute and been very quiet. What's your opinion? Or are you driving?
now you could be driving.
I'm on mute. I'm sitting here
There he
listening to you
is.
guys. I think it's the future. I
Okay.
I can't wait to start investigating it and moving forward with it. You know
Good.
me, I'm always ahead of the curve. I think I'm in the office supply business, so I've been looking at these products that do clean the floors, and at night they go out, clean the floors, come back, refill their chemicals and fill them up again and
Yeah.
go out and do the floors. So you can't hire people to do that kind of stuff anymore.
That's
So
right.
Well,
therefore,
you can't get a good job done. That's for damn sure. I just fired my maid.
yeah, there you go. But this is the future for us if we're going to get involved. I mean, stuff we can fix. If it breaks, we can fix it.
That's
The
right.
stuff we can program. I mean, these floor cleaners, you lay it out. I mean, in fact, they program themselves today. So yes, it's,
Yeah,
I'm going to a show later
I think you could build some
in
services,
November just for that.
particularly what Kevin was saying a minute ago. You could build some services around that. You get some decent IT people
Yeah.
in the house.
So
That's a opportunity to garner some additional revenue and profitability.
absolutely. And there's what's there actually, to replace the cost per page, you can do a cost per task to build up your revenue off of that robot. There are some programs out there where they'll charge 50 cents per task or $1 per task
That
for
might
the
work.
robots.
I'm going to make an observation. I don't know whether you're right or wrong. But one of the things we tend to do in our industry is keep going back to this cost per print. Like that's some kind of magic formula. It's been great for us.
Yes, it has.
You have to think about what the value is to the customer. Does it relate to the value of the customer? Does it represent something that becomes as economical? One of the things to remember is the original cost per print was very capital intensive. It wasn't until the leasing companies came in back in that 82 period where the cost per print model was not as capital intensive as it was. And that's changed a lot. If you go into another industry where you may or may not be able to pull that off, the whole idea is to find the value. And if you can work it out where you can get a continual idle revenue, God bless it. That's wonderful. But it's got to have value. If it doesn't have value, it's easily replaced. And it can't be overcharged.
And I think that's been validated by one of the conversations we had. I just remember one of them was they had a robotic arm and they charged per task, that Art was saying, and the customer gladly wanted to pay that per task because they were getting the value out of it 24/7. So they just kept paying it, and they couldn't get
Oh,
enough.
sure. But I mean, it's like piecework in a factory.
Yep.
That's
That was
exactly
very
what-
prominent for a long time. People would actually, when I was in high school, I used to work in a sweater factory doing piecework.
Right.
Yep.
Right. Hey, Kevin, can you talk a little bit about Twain involvement? Because that goes a long way with the AI and the LLM that's going to
Yeah.
be in the robots.
Yeah, I'll just kind of keep it simple. So Twain's a 35-year-old nonprofit organization. What we've done is create a specification that helps connect software applications to mostly document scanners and MFP machines. So that's what the software application does not talk directly to the hardware. So there's a specification we created called the Twain driver, and a software application talks to the driver that then talks to the copy machine. So that's what we've done, and we're used by millions of devices all over the world. So we're very good at that. We write ISO standards, we write specifications that everybody loves, and we're like probably 90% of the market of scanner and copy machine drivers. So that's why I was very interested for the Twain Working Group to work with the Crickets organization, because we are that standards organization. So a robot to me is really nothing more than another hardware device, right? Instead of 300 DPI and suplex, duplex, or staple commands, you're going to say, move the right arm, move the left arm, move the camera up. So it's just different control of the hardware. So is there an organization that can establish a standard for robotics? And so what I've seen, most of the robotics are open source software. They have a Ubuntu operating or a Linux operating system, and then some kind of robotics operating system, and then some proprietary kind of communication to that robot right now, because you have to be able to program it, like you said, But so if Twain can be that kind of standardization, that you can standardize the way you talk to copy machines, and standardize the way you talk to water coolers, and standardize the way you talk to robots, then it helps with innovation and allows everybody to create solutions tailored for the customers that are not rigid and not proprietary. And that just helps everybody be very innovative. So that's what we do in a nutshell, and that's what the Twain Working Groups does. And we're thinking about this as a future opportunity for us. And just the last thing I'll say about this: the robots are hardware. right? But they are AI machines too. They have large language models, and they
Mhm.
can think, they can learn. So it's not just the communication and movement of the robots, it's actually AI to AI communication that we're also thinking about.
Okay. Interesting.
Right.
And then I guess, maybe to tie it back to the copiers, and again, this is our proof of concept, right? So we're trying to stretch the boundaries, but keep it that it still works. We've got on one of the robots, we've got an LLM that's loaded up, and I think I might probably already said this already, but it can act as an HR because Dion is a dealer out in South Africa. He'll be at the show, but he wanted to see an application where Dion, correct me if I'm wrong, but where like new employees come in for orientation, there's a whole process you have to go through. And the question months ago was, well, why can't we just have the robot with an LLM do that? So, we thought and thought, and the programmers did what they did. Now we've got it to where a new employee, this robot could be doing whatever, and it could be literally showing how to move a box of toner next to the copier and then answer HR questions, basic ones, or sit down and actually go through a new employee orientation process, which, talk about payback, that takes a human to human relationship, hours, right, of doing just helping someone fill out a form or check boxes or things like that, or the new employee interfaces with at their leisure a talking LLM that is pretty darn good and knows everything down to the last syllable of the HR manual. So we've done that. That works right now. Also, and Kevin, correct me again if I'm wrong, but when we are going to have our robot be able to have been communicated to by the copier, or at least illustrate that it needs a something, the robot will go get that something, and it won't put it in the copier. It'll deliver it next to the copier. All right. So, and again, the examples, Ed, may only be staples, toner, and a bottle of some sort. But you see the concept.
I'm smiling because I think HR is filled with robots now. You just
Yeah. You have no idea how many conversations. This is really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well,
I mean,
we were all talking about the decline in print,
uh-huh.
and that's why I had the concept of adding HR to it, because HR is quite a wide field. And onboarding, to onboard one salesperson takes you about 3 hours, where a robot can do it within 3 minutes, for instance, and saving time. So just to take it a little bit further from the technology side, I noticed you wear one of those smart rings. Now,
Yeah.
if you take it from you've got a smartphone, you've got a smart watch, now you've got a smart ring.
So I got rid
So
of the smart watch to get the smart ring.
that's correct. You got rid of a smart watch. So eventually that ring will most probably be a chip under your skin. And that's what I thought with the whole concept of HR side as
Mhm.
part and parcel of the cricket's robotic side, whereby the decline in print might be taken over by the HR side. If you go back again, I don't know, Greg and all the other guys, we need to maybe talk about drones as well. How the robot can actually dispatch parts to a technical engineer in the field to fix a machine, for instance. So it's going further and further and further, and I think most probably we started at the right time.
yeah.
Hey, Greg, this is the other Kevin. I have a question for you.
Sure.
Have you given any consideration to like any of the kind of the CMMC compliances or anything? Because LLMs and all of these other devices never forget. So is there going to be any kind of a problem where you're going to put these in an environment where they're going to be recording everything that they do and every action that they take? And that's going to be if that agency or that location does anything with a compliancy requirement, which we know today is everywhere, and Ed probably knows it better than any of us on the call. But is that something you guys have given thought to, or how are you going to work with that?
We have given thought, and we've right now, and I'm sure Kevin can chime in on this. From my standpoint, we're kind of defaulting to the LLMs, whether it's local or connected. That's basically where we're at. But you're right. I mean, and this all changes, right? Anything can happen in the next 7 days when it comes to compliance. I mean, and I think OpenAI just did something yesterday or something about that. But you're absolutely right. We know about it. It's on the radar. It's moving. We're trying to move with it. Kevin, can you add anything to that?
Yeah, and I'll just tie it into Dion's and Kevin's. There's a active project with Palo Verde Generating Station that I saw a couple months ago. It's their nuclear power plant, and they have drones and spot the dogs and Waymo cars and scanning documents. They shared this use case. It wasn't me sharing this with them, and they said we want to connect all these devices, just like you said, Dion. The drone wasn't picking up parts, but it was surveying the land and was saying spot the dog, go over here, and then probe
Yeah.
the land for radiation over here. So the drone was working in conjunction with Spot the Dog, and guess what? They were scanning documents for their AI system. And to answer your question, Kevin, in the nuclear regulation, well, the nuclear industry is highly regulated, as you can imagine, right? So they cannot use any public LLMs or public AI. So it had to be a private AI. So we created we used off the shelf LLMs, but we put it on basically their own infrastructure. So they are responsible for the compliance and the regulation, and it fits into their security policy and their, all their other policies. So, but they cannot use public, and they have to use a private infrastructure, and that was our answer to that. Is that we fit into your security and policy framework.
So I have a question for you. Those are two different things you're saying, though. Those aren't equal. I work in the compliancy on this. So you're really looking at NIST 800-171-3 versus, and if you look at the 17 NIST control families that are involved in that, an LLM is a learning device. It's not a monitoring device. They fall under completely different categories within the NIST compliancies and the sectors you're discussing. And I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm just asking, what is your answer? It doesn't matter where the domain is, because I mean, you can be in a controlled sector or non-controlled sector if the device has the ability to learn, and it also means it never forgets.
It
So
retains, yes.
yes, I mean, exactly. Thank you. I was falling over my own words there for a moment. But since it does retain and it does learn, and it can also be addressable, you're talking about what you really need to look up is the NIST 800-173-3 is exactly where that's going, and that's all that compliancy takes effect November 10th of this year.
NIST, what was the number? I'm sorry.
NIST 800-171-3.
Okay.
And you'll sign the 17 NIST rules in there on the control. There's 117, but you're only just working with 17 of them. And then you can also reference the like OWASP, Open Web Application Security Project. Those are all government projects, but those are setting the standards for what everybody's going to have to do in these domains, regardless of what. I mean, it really doesn't matter what ecosystem it's thriving in, because it is a learning language, and it does retain. And another thing, Ed, while he's looking that up, I'm going to go back and second something you said. Remember when everybody kept going to the print per page model? They thought that was the answer, reduce it to the ridiculous. How many of the vending machine companies went broke because they thought that they could be in the managing business of money? If you took that model to a bank today, they would laugh at you and say, you're going to become the financial arm of this operation, when
Right.
where you're going to have to borrow it on the back end. That would be a very, very difficult sell to a bank.
You've got to be careful.
Right.
You
Yeah.
really have to be careful. The cost per copy worked for reasons that I think we fail to remember.
Yeah, it
And
worked because we were trying to prevent toner pirates from taking over our industry.
that's
or after
exactly
sale.
right. I mean, what happened before, prior to that, I mean, I used to spend a fortune battling toner pirates. But I mean, I made a fortune selling supplies up front and selling service contracts up front and deferring them over the period of the contract. I had the money up front.
Mhm.
And that was, man, from a cash flow standpoint, it was huge. It was
Yep.
huge.
And what do you
we,
think of what do you think of
we
these?
build it out instead of deferring it. That's what happened.
Yeah, we were a sharp dealer for years, and you're right. I always like to listen to you because you were probably one of the only sober or not inebriated people in the industry at the time. They were all seemed to be inebriated, a little bit of have a little bit of it, thinking they understood something. And I always went back to, I was like, okay, I mean, you know, you always just kind of put it in more in common sense. But what do you think about these dealers today? Declining volumes, and they're in there. They don't really even know why we ever used the model. What they, you know, they just know it's been here for years, and they just keep following that flag. And they go put all this $1,000 worth of supplies in there. They're getting 2,000 pages a month. That does not work on a balance sheet. And you cannot talk a dealer out of that model.
No, well, the model itself is fine in a sense, but it needs to be revised. We have to remember when that model was created, it was 1984. I
Yep.
remember I was literally sitting on a ship in the Adrian Sea with the guys from Alco Standard, and it was Johnson at the time, and he was telling me how he was going to put this together. It was a result of the day that they bought Kex. It wasn't even a copy. They didn't even buy a copy yet.
Right.
And they were talking about how this model was going to change. And that's when it was born. And it developed a little bit more in the next 2 or 3 years. But that basically reached its peak of refinement around 1986.
Yep.
And we made little tweaks to it here and there, but it needs to be revamped. It is good in the sense that it targets people to be profitable and to run their business well. But there's so many missed opportunities based upon the way technology has changed. We used to work on units at that time, and instead of replacing a unit, you rebuilt the unit in the field. Well, that's a different model.
Yeah.
Now the guy just pulls this out and plugs this in and just goes. The whole profitability model should be changed dramatically, and resources should be applied differently. But we can't get away from it. They just believe it. And the problem is it's still a very, very profitable business, and people are making money. And when they're making money, they don't want to make changes. It's that
The,
simple.
the issue that nobody's paying attention to is this ugly thing called yield,
Yeah.
and nobody understands it.
I have that conversation every day.
Yeah.
Literally every day. I'll have a conversation, and people get obsessed with coverage and all sort of technical type stuff, and it's meaningless.
Yeah.
It's absolutely what matters is yield.
Yep. We still think alike. You look better than I do, but we still think the same way on this.
I doubt that. You're hiding behind a computer module, so we can't tell. But
Well, I'm not using a filter. You are. Hey, just a quick compliment. You did a great job at Sharp. I really appreciate the leadership you managed during that time.
Well, thank you much. I appreciate that.
So, I'm sorry, Kevin, did you have something?
No, I was just good. I was just trying. The only reason I'm asking these questions isn't to be the stick in the mud. I mean, it's such a big hammer right now that I just want everybody to know that.
I think these
Thank you.
questions are fantastic. It
Yeah.
is especially what you went over about some of the new standards that are coming out. And this is the reason why we've developed crickets, and we believe in crickets. We're building a coalition where we're going to have robotic OEMs involved. We like to have some copier OEMs involved. Our vision over the next year in 2026 is to have at least 8 OEM robotic manufacturers involved in our coalition, up to 50 office equipment dealers, and maybe a couple of copier OEMs. We've got one on board right now, but the copier OEMs are, to me, are kind of dragging their feet. But we need input like yours, Kevin, and Chip's input, and this is a coalition for us to all share our information, so we can bring robots to our channel, make robots profitable, and give them a tail similar to like what we've had with copiers. And this isn't going to happen unless we all band together, we all share our minds and say, and think about all the what ifs that can come about from our coalition.
The one if that I would put in there right off is it doesn't look familiar. And ask all the inkjet dealers how quickly they have found out how something that doesn't look familiar doesn't fall right in line with what's been familiar.
Well, we're hoping that the 50 dealers that we get are going to be forward-thinking dealers. There are some of those out there, and those are the ones we're looking to capture. We're looking to capture the dealers who have legacy. They might have legacy issues. Their sons or daughters are involved in the industry. Maybe they want to get their grandkids involved in the industry. And what legacy are they going to leave them with a declining business in 10 years? Do they want to leave them a declining business with no future because maybe they didn't make the move quick enough into robotics? We look at that. We also see the problems in our industry, and the problems in our industry is techs are aging out. Our average technician where I work is probably plus 50 years old. I spoke to another company where their average technicians are all 60 years old, and
That's a big issue.
yeah,
It is a huge issue.
We've got to address that, and we can't find young people who want to be a copy machine technician. It's not sexy, and plus we don't pay them enough money. But what if
That
right?
hurts a little bit.
Right?
Yeah.
What if our little robot that's going to be in Tampa, right? And we can program it, and we can sell a dealer. You don't have to start big. You don't have to invest $100,000 or $200,000. Invest $10,000 and start your own robotics program. Let it start doing things in your office, right? Let it get coffee. Let it get the food from the DoorDash guy. Let it move supplies from point A to point B. At that point in time, you're building your own IP, and you can interview people who want to come into your company and said, well, we can start you off as a technician, but we've got this robotics program, and you look like a great fit to be involved in our robotics program.
I think the story needs to be how robotics fits into the office and how it can advance the situation in the office and offer value in the office, because that's the playground. The playground
That's correct.
is the office.
That's correct.
Ed, isn't it funny how we go back to selling before we had technology? We have to actually go back to not selling technology and being problem solvers to sell technology.
Exactly. Well, we should have been selling more getting around the problem solving a long time ago anyway. But
100%. I totally agree with you.
Yep.
So, Art, I got to jump off because I have to grab another call, but here's one more last thing. So here's a little quiz for you. What does Blockbuster, what does Kodak, and what does BlackBerry have in common?
They all waited too long to change.
No, none of them failed because of their technology, their processes. They failed because it didn't look familiar to them. So make sure you understand that when you're talking to these people, that you're going to have to educate, inform, and build that repertoire before that you can do any of the things that Ed's discussing or this whole conversation is discussing.
You are absolutely correct.
Those spot on. And I could give you a history on each one of those to talk about why. But he's dead on.
So you don't think Blockbuster is upset that they didn't buy Netflix for $50 million when they had the opportunity? I think any of us could have put that deal together, right?
I was at Canon working with Kodak. We were trying to convince them about digital photography.
Yep, too slow and interfered with their film business.
They were already in it.
Yeah, they built it. They invented it.
Already in it.
Yep.
They wouldn't give up the profit of silver.
Yeah, that's 100% right.
They just wouldn't give it up.
Well, I've enjoyed your time, guys. It was really good talking to you guys. I think you guys are good, and invite me next week, and I'll make sure I come back.
Sounds good, Chip. Kevin,
Thanks a lot, Kevin.
Thank you, everybody.
Good talking to you.
Art?
I think I spoke a lot in that last couple minutes.
So you're having the show when in November?
In November. November 13th and 14th, right, Kevin?
No, 12th and 13th.
12th and 13th.
Where's it at again? In Florida?
Safety Harbor, Florida. It's near Tampa. It's about 20 minutes from the airport in Tampa.
I don't know. I had such a busy November. I'd love to come.
Are you going to Canada?
Yeah.
Then you won't be able to attend our event.
Oh, that's what it was.
Time.
I did see it. Yeah, I'm already booked at the Canada dinner.
Yep. Next year we plan on not on having.
I made every one of those back when they were breakfasts, so I feel like I gotta go.
And when they were more like roasts, right?
They used to be roast. That's what it
Yeah,
was.
I know.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember Frank got mad at me because I roasted him one time when I got up. They gave me an award, and I said the last time I had dinner this early, I had to wear a bib because he used to have the damn things at like 5 o'clock, and he got all pissed off at me.
Yeah. Chip, are you going to be at Canada?
Well, I will be in Las Vegas at the ISSA show, looking at robotic cleaning devices.
Okay, cool.
Very nice. Very nice. Nice.
Well, I'm
So-
singing at Canada anyway, so I got to go there to sing. He's got me performing with a band.
Oh my God.
Is it a paying gig?
Are you kidding me?
I think
Frank
I'm,
charges, he never pays.
Art and Greg, I think I'm going to cancel our event and just go and see Ed perform.
I hear Ed's a pretty good performer.
Yeah.
So Chip, let us know what you find out there. We'd like to invite you to future meetings and see if you'd like to get involved in our coalition.
I think I would like to get involved.
Okay, all right.
I would go to your event if I wasn't already booked to go to the ISSA show.
Yeah, and I would be there if I wasn't going up to Canada. Canada's usually a week earlier, but I've got a very busy November traveling. So
Well, maybe we could do something early next year too. Just another sort of, maybe not the size of this one, but we can consider another one because it seems like this topic's hot. They can't wait another year. But
oh, I don't think the topic should wait another year. And you find a way now. It was mentioned earlier by Stramalio about he's going to introduce something about robotics at ECS. Are you involved in that at all?
No.
Nope.
Okay, now you know about it. Do you want to get involved in it? Should you get involved in it? Can you add something to it?
I wonder what ECS can add to us.
Dealers.
About 125 dealers.
All right.
Yeah, interesting.
You know Mike well, Greg. Just
I do.
pick up the phone and give him a shout.
Yeah, I know Mike very well.
Yeah, I know you do. Yeah.
We actually we spoke last week for probably about 15 minutes or so. And we have a call scheduled with him on
So I know he wants.
Monday.
He's gonna have. I don't know what it's going to be about robotics, but
Find out. All right, cool.
Going to be some conversation.
Boy, that
Excuse me.
that'd be great.
Yeah, everything that he's doing so far is top secret.
Yeah, well, it's semi-top secret. He leaves little pieces of it out, and
Okay.
then probably just hasn't figured it out yet.
He's probably
Okay.
still looking for somebody.
So we've hit 5 o'clock, actually 5:05. We reserve an hour for these shows. I want to thank everybody for coming on board. Kevin Fry. I want to thank Dion. Dion, it's late for you in South Africa, but we also always appreciate you coming on board.
It's
Chip,
weekend.
go ahead.
Was it in the middle of the night there, or what? I mean, what time?
It's 11 o'clock at night, yeah.
Yeah, I figured.
But it's weekend, so it's fun.
It's okay. It's just, yeah.
Ed, we'd like to thank you for coming on board. Chip, always good to have you around and your input. Greg, Kevin, till our next show, right? And we hope everybody can like, follow, and share, and we'll see you next week.
Great.
Okay, cool.
Thank you,
Thanks,
guys.
everyone.
Thank you.
Right. Take
Great
care.
conversation.
Right,
Thank
take
you.
Take care, guys.
Thank
Take care,
you.
Brad.
Nice
Bye-bye.
conversation.
All right, thank you.